Howdy folks, Little John out at the brewery and knocking up a quick brew. Something a little bit different today. I'm doing a extract brew. I'm actually running it through the my 50 litre NANO brew kettle, which doesn't get a lot of use around the place. I'll drag it out. I'm in the process of trying to reinvigorate the 3V system. I'm keen to get it up and going and we'll run a couple of brews through it and maybe do a comparison between the 3V and the Brewzilla. Yeah, see how that goes. But anyway, so you see I've got the kettle over here. I had initially 30 litres of water in it, which I've heated up. I've calculated my recipe and I've worked out, I went through and I've worked out some light dry malt, some dry wheat, a bit of amber malt, some dextrose, and I've gone through my stock, but I haven't got enough dry wheat and I haven't got quite enough of the amber malt that I'd like, so I'm making some quick changes on the fly. So quickly before we get into that, shout out to Little John's Patreons. Cheers guys, thanks for your support. As always, the link's down the bottom there if you want to check out, see what it's about. Subscribers, thank you. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button down there in the corner. And hit the like button if you're watching anyway, like what's going on. It all helps the channel out. But anyway, so I'm going to run a fairly simple pale ale. So I've got some rolled wheat here, so I'm going to sub out a whack of the dry wheat for the rolled wheat, and I've got some of the amber malt, not quite as much as I'd like, so I'm just going to probably sub in just a little bit of some dark dry malt, just to throw a little bit of depth in, and that's about it. So first thing I'm doing is I'm going to get the rolled wheat, and actually I need to get it having a bit of a steep mash so I can get that into the boil. Now I've taken 5 litres of water off into the small pot. That come off at about 80 degrees, so it's probably dropped down around 70ish now, which is sort of where I want it. I want to get the wheat in there. Just want to let it steep for about 15-20 minutes just to get some goodness out of it, and then I'll put that. Then we'll go on with the rest of it. So I want about 600 grams of the rolled wheat to add to a bit of dry wheat. I've got about 200 grams of dry wheat malt there. There's 800, and that's going to go into the little pot to mash. Righto, so I'm going to let that go for, I said, about 20 minutes. While it's happening, I'm going to weigh up the rest of this stuff and get it ready. We'll come back and look at that. Righto. Wheats have mashed. I'll just drain them a little bit. And yeah, a glass probably would have been a good idea, but anyway. Rightio. Now, Let's see what sort of gravity we got out of that, if any. Yeah, no, 2/3 of fuck all. About 3 points of gravity, so that overall is going to knock the recipe down. I probably should have, ideally would have put a little bit of bloody bit of base malt in there to help with the conversion, but I wasn't mucking around pulling the grain mill and stuff out. The whole idea was just going to be, this brew was meant to be nice and simple. So, got our 5 litres here, so I'm going to just dissolve everything else into here, then add it into the big pot, because I don't want to dump the powder, the dry malt into there and risk it sticking and scorching onto the element. So, I've got all up 1.7 kilos of light dry malt. There we go. Now I said 600 grams of the rolled wheat. Original recipe I would have allowed for 800 grams of dry wheat malt, and that's the preferred option for keeping this recipe nice and simple. Okay, I've also got, so there's another 200 grams of dry wheat malt in here, which is what I had. 400 grams of dextrose, which is a little bit more. I was going for 300, but I just put a little bit more in to make up for that. That wheat is going to drop the gravity down, and I ended up with 75 grams of amber ale. The amber extract, again dry, which was meant to be 300. I've added to that 175 grams of dark dry malt. So I'm thinking that's going to get us somewhere similar in the way of a little bit extra malt and flavour and colour. So again, it's going to drop us a tiny little bit on the gravity, but yeah, it's 50 grams overall. It's not a lot. So I'll get this in, give it a mix. Should clump a little bit, that's not too bad. Now, big pot's just coming to a boil. So I'll get this in, get this all mixed through. Right, and that's got us somewhere around 32 litres pre-boil. Now I'm just going to throw in something I've not used before, some firm cap. Never had any, I just grabbed some recently. Got this from actually for Mick Woodford for lazy days. Along with a few other things I've picked up during the week, but I've not used a firm cap before, so we'll give them a whirl. So it says only 5 to 10 drops for per 20 litres. So if I can get the bloody thing open. Let's go for it. Righto, just one bloody little short squirt of that, and that should eliminate any issues with our boil over or the hot break. So we'll have a look at that, how that travels, and we'll come back and talk about how I'm finishing this fella off. that boils on, so you can see there. Was it 20? I think it's a 2400 watt element in that pot. There's 32 litres in there. It gets a rolling boil going, but that's it. It's not a vigorous boil. It's enough of a boil. But as you saw, the firm cap, that just didn't, hot break didn't bust out. Certainly would have expected a good size hot break with fusing all the dry malt, but so good stuff. It does what it's meant to do. So that's interesting. Now I'm going to take a just a quick refractometer reading. Now I took one from the boil and it showed 114. Now I know that's not going to be right, and this is what can happen when you use these things when the water is too hot. You are able to use these during the boil, but you still do let your wort cool a little bit. So you can just take a little bit in your pipette and just take it, let it sit for 5 minutes, even just a couple of minutes. You stick that in the fridge for a minute, and it's cool enough to take. I think the automatic temperature correction is meant to be accurate under about 65 degrees, so you just need to cool a little bit, which is why it works good in the mash, because its mash temperatures are still in that area where it is accurate. Now, so yeah, so that's given me about 1035, 1034, 1035. So I think I was looking for, okay, recipe is telling me 1039 with the adjustments. I was originally looking for 1042, but with the lower, obviously, conversion from the flaked wheat, we're not going to get quite as much. So no problem there. We're certainly going to get 4-point reduction with the boil. I'm going to boil this today for 60 minutes. I don't need to do it for what I want to do with the hops, but I haven't used this. I've only used this kettle I think twice previously, and I haven't got an accurate boil off number on it. So I want to run the 60-minute boil to actually see what it does boil off when I'm doing a full size batch. Because that's numbers I'm going to need if I do run the 3B and run that as the boil kettle. So let that run now. I'll come back when we're throwing hops in. We'll talk about that. Right, first lot of hops have gone in. Let's flame out. Heat's off. Okay, so I've just checked the boil, 4 litre boil off. I think I've allowed for 3 in the calculations. So that's alright. There's 20. About 27 litres in there at the moment. I've taken a litre off, which is sitting in the fridge cooling off in the flask, so I can do a bit of a sort of a starter. So the hops have gone in. I'm hopping with sativa. Never used them before. Fairly new. Now these hops have come courtesy, it so often does, from Kevin at the hopping mechanism. So yeah, cheers Kev once again. He'd sent me a 95 gram bag, so I thought, what can I do with them? I thought this will work nicely. So I wanted a simple brew. I didn't want to muck around with stuff. So the idea was originally we just go dry malt, boil, whack the hops, that flame out, let them sit for 20 minutes, then drop in another whack of hops. Basically at that point, put the lid on it and let it sit overnight. It's now 5:30 Sunday afternoon. So 10 to 6, it was 5:32 now, so about 10 to 6 I will drop in the rest of the hops. So I dropped in, just then I dropped 40 grams of the sativa in. I will drop another 30 at 20 minutes, and I said put the lid on it, and I'm just going to let this sit overnight and cool on its own. And then tomorrow morning I will look to transfer it to the fermenter and get some yeast on it. Now I don't know, I don't expect it to be at pitching temp by the morning. I imagine that will probably take a bit longer, might take half the day. That's fine. Whenever it is, I will go to the fermenter when it's at pitching temp, and I will pitch onto it. So as I said, I'll be doing up a start with that litre I've got in the flask. I'm just going to give it a good shake, put this in and let it sit overnight, and same thing, and just pitch the whole thing in there, wherever it's at when I pitch tomorrow. I'm not looking about running a particular sort of time. I think by the time that's gone, this will be sort of starting to get a little bit active, and it should be fine. So using BRY 97, this has come from Reese, part of the big whack of yeast he sent me. So I'll be using this. So you'll see that tomorrow. I'll wrap up with getting it into the fermenter and final numbers. So at the moment things are looking pretty good. So I've got 27 litres there, a litre including what's in the starter. I've worked out I can leave 4 litres in the actual kettle quite safely, and get the rest out. So with cooling, I should pull maybe 22 litres without any effort. I can certainly get an extra litre with a bit of a tip. So I think with the litre I haven't allowed for with the boil off, I think I can recover that by a bit of a tip under the tap. The 5 litres is really making no effort to get anything under it. That will depend on how much it all drops out, but we'll see how that is tomorrow. So for now, so wait another 15 minutes, I'll drop more hops in and let him sit. Something different. But it's all about being easy. So for now, enjoy myself some beers, and I'll see you tomorrow. Right, transfer's done, you've just seen. About 21 degrees. So I think the ambient in here is probably about 18 at the moment, so it's pretty close. It's almost got there. It's sort of mid-afternoon on Monday, so it's taken a while to cool down, which I sort of expected it to with that sort of volume. So get a gravity reading. I'm pretty happy with the colour. That's looking pretty good. And that's sitting on 1040. Yeah, I'll call that 1040. I I think target was 1042, so I'm pretty happy with that, given that the lack of conversion with the corn, sorry, not the corn, the wheat, then I'm pretty happy with that, because certainly didn't get anywhere near the gravity points we would have if we just used dry wheat. Okay, so a little bit of hop there, not a lot of hop. But there's enough. I think that's going to carry some nice flavours over into the finished brew. I will be adding 25 grams of the sativa into here on probably day 6 for a couple of days, just for a little bit of dry hop, just a little bit extra to push it along. Now, I said we had the BRY 97, one pack yesterday into a starter, which certainly looks like it got up and going overnight and this morning, so get him up and going to pitch him straight in. It's certainly active, so I don't think I'm not too concerned. I think I've got plenty of healthy numbers there to work with, and that gets me a total volume of about 23.5 litres. Now, I'm not convinced that this thing's actually completely accurate, so, but somewhere in that vicinity, so around where we wanted, so I'm pretty happy with that. Now this fella, I'm just going to leave sitting out to ferment, because I don't have a fridge to put in at the moment, and the garage is sitting at a nice temperature for this brew. But what I also want to do is I'm going to run another video or two off this actual ferment. I'm going to do I'm just going to track the ferment at different times and get some footage as it goes through. But I'm also going to top crop this fella probably about day 3, somewhere around there, day 3 or 4, depending on how quickly it gets active. I'm going to top crop some of these yeast off, so I'm going to do a video on how to do that top cropping, and because I've not done, I've talked about top cropping, I've never actually done a video, so that will be coming off this as well. So this fella's just going to sit out here in the garage. I'll throw a blanket over it so it's not getting any light, but considering we haven't seen the sun here for the last 6 weeks, and we're not planning on for a little while, that's not too much of a concern, but all good. So that's it. Sativa XPA. So it was meant to be all dry malt to keep it easy. It got a little bit beyond that, but only a little bit. It's all pretty straightforward. I said with the 50 litre pot, they're a great bit of kit if you're looking at brewing that way. Easy, brew in a bag, pot, or extracts, all good. So again, Patreon, thumbs up, cheers guys, thank you for your support. Links, information is down the bottom. If you haven't hit the subscribe button, do so. Hit the like button if you're sitting here watching as well. But anyway, that's me, I'm done. So until I see you again, you're brewing beer, drinking beer or talking beer, good brewing.